While it's heating up outside, your cooling system could be melting down on the inside of your car. Without warning, it can fail. Here to keep you in the cool is our auto guy, Brian Bowersock of West Escondido Auto. Thanks for being here, Brian.
Glad to be here. Good morning.
You were talking earlier when we were just kind of chatting before Anita tossed to us about the #1 cause of breakdowns. Tell us about that.
The actual #1 cause on the road of breakdowns is hose failures. People don't replace their hoses on a regular interval, which they are recommended to be replaced every 5 years or 60,000 miles. What happens to them is a hose, and we have some examples here. A hose can look just fine on the outside, but if you actually squeeze this, you can feel it crack. And can you feel that?
Yeah, you can, and you can hear it.
You can see the stuff coming apart inside, and you can actually see where the rubber is actually failing and coming apart. And what happens with these hoses is they start to come apart inside like that, and then what happens is they'll get a crack inside. It will go through the rubber and run the link till it finds a weak point, and then the hose actually blows out like this hose did here, and then you actually have a blowout and you lose all the coolant in the cooling system.
So you literally have no warning. I mean, everything's going along fine, and then boom, once it fails, it's
Correct, correct. What we typically look for, especially at West Escondido Auto Trans and most quality repair facilities, is if hoses are crunchy or if they're real spongy and starting to come apart. That's a good indication to us that the inside's failing.
Okay, so let's do this one. This one is the one that's failing, but again, I think it's really important because from my perspective, I mean, you aren't just going to look at this and know anything's wrong unless you know how to feel it.
Exactly. From the outside, the hose looks like it is in perfect shape.
Because it looks
exactly like that hose. Yeah. Absolutely. But you can actually see in here where it's actually failing, part of the rubber's coming apart. And eventually what will happen, it will get a small leak here on the inner side. It will go through there and it'll travel up the hose till it finds a weak point on the outside, and then it blows out like this hose did here.
Wow. And so you could just be traveling down the road, 100 miles an hour, and then boom.
Absolutely.
You're going to be stranded for a little bit.
Absolutely.
And the sad thing, it seems like, because hoses aren't really that expensive to fix.
No, hoses themselves. Now, some newer cars, hoses tend to be a little more expensive. We have cars that can have 15, 20 hoses on, little small ones and things like that.
Oh, there's information up on the screen for people to be aware of for hose failure. So your cooling system failure, that's the #1 reason cars go down when they're out on the road. And it's 1/3 of the radiator hoses changes are due to roadside failure. So people aren't doing this ahead of time.
People aren't doing it 5 years, 60,000 miles, because hoses are rubber and they do start to deteriorate. It's called electrical chemical degradation, which actually causes the inside of the hose to break down and fail.
So at the end of the day, what that means is that it turns really yucky orange like this, and then it's going to be compromised at some point.
Correct, absolutely.
All right, anything else that people can have indicators of, because just doing it regularly, anything else that can be a sign that you may just overlook?
There's nothing else assigned except for to this vehicle here, obviously the cooling system wasn't kept flushed. Doing the regular flushes like we talked about with the BG components and things like that to keep the system clean helps prevent this chemical breakdown inside the hoses. So that is a very important part of it also, to keep from a hose blowing. But they do need to be replaced at specific intervals.
And you need to replace these caps too?
Yeah, this is actually a thermostat. This is what regulates the temperature of your engine. Two things can happen with those. One is they stick closed, which you have a severe overheat problem, can damage the internal components of the engine. The other is they stick open and don't warm up enough.
All right.
So they need to be replaced on a yearly basis.
As well. So every 60,000 miles and every year for those.
You betcha.
All right. Thanks, Brian.